Hey guys, Wet Movie 1 back here again for another video for you guys today. In this one, I'm going to be showing you guys my top 9 movies that made me. Movies that I watched on repeat growing up as a kid that I still watch all the time to this day. And some of them may not be like the best movies of all time. Some of them may be some of your favorites. But these are just my personal favorite, top 9 movies that made me. This is actually a video, kind of like a video response, like old school video response to the Rad Pack podcast that came up with this idea that started this community challenge and everything like that. So if you guys haven't seen the Rad Pack podcast YouTube channel yet, I'll have a link for their YouTube channel in the description box of this video. Check them out. I'm jumping in the game, but I just couldn't pick just 9. But my 2 honorable mentions for the top movies that made me, like as a kid and as a teenager and even adult, that I just absolutely love. The first one would have to go to the Back to the Future franchise right here. Hopefully Hollywood doesn't go back to like remake this and do what they do now, like mess up stuff. But you can't beat the original Back to the Future trilogy right here. The all great movies. The third one's my least watched one of the 3, but I still love it. But part 2 is absolutely like the gem for me right here. I really don't have to really get into these movies because a lot of people know what Back to the Future is. But if you can go back to the future, what would you do? Would you try to change something? Would you try to go see, try to change something in your life before, you messed it up, or if you can make something better kind of thing? Let me know in the comments. I love these movies. Back to the Future definitely has to be mentioned in any top list of mine. And another honorable mention, The Breakfast Club. I absolutely love this one. Had this movie on repeat all the time. Growing up when I was in junior high and high school and things like that, because I was always going to detention because I had a little mouth on me and stuff like that. But you can't go wrong. With this one right here, with Ali Sheedy, of course, Emilio Estevez, and things like that in here. Great movie, Molly Ringwald. Just all around great movie that takes place in the detention hall, and these kids get have to go there and spend a day in detention. One's a jock, one's a recluse, one's a nerd, one's the pretty girl, all that jazz. I love this movie, and I know a lot of you guys out there probably do too. But those are some of my honorable mentions. Right there. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of some of the movies that made me as a child that I just watched consistently all the time. And one of them is the movie Angus, about a fat kid getting picked on in school, and he has this little short skinny friend that hangs out with him that's a little nerdy guy too, kind of like me and Gabriel, fat guy, little guy, kind of thing. I even have my poster over here autographed by Kathy Bates, and a couple people have my DVD here autographed by the actual main star, my friend Charlie Talbert. Great movie. This is one of those Warner Archive, DVD releases and things like that. Great movie, coming of age flick about this kid named Angus that loves this girl named Melissa Lefevre, who's the the head cheerleader at the school, but yet she's dating Rick Sanford, which is his arch nemesis that's always picking on him and making his life miserable, and all he wants is his moment. If you guys have never seen the movie Angus, I highly recommend it. One of my favorites of all time, and one of those ones I had on repeat all the time growing up. And the next one right here I had on repeat growing up, and it's not just this movie. It's not just this movie right here. It's the CDs and the cassette tapes that came out that kind of made me growing up in junior high and stuff, because it was kind of like how I always hear comedians talk about having old Richard Pryor albums, playing in the basement, hoping their mom and dad don't know that they're listening to it and stuff like that. Mine was the Jerky Boys. This is the Jerky Boys movie, and this is the VHS one I've had since I was a kid. And back in the day, this movie, I'm not saying this is like the best movie on the planet by any means, but the guys that made all those prank phone calls, CDs and cassettes that they were putting out, in stores, they turned that into a movie, and I was all about this one, back in the day. And like I said, it's definitely not the best movie on the planet, but just the nostalgia factor, of this and those CDs and cassettes that came out with these two guys making prank phone calls and like putting it out there for people to buy and listen to and laugh and like, just have a good time with. I was all about the Jerky Boys in like elementary school and junior high and stuff. All about that stuff. How many of you guys remember the Jerky Boys? I'm never gonna forget that stuff, especially, you know, in my little infant mind. And next up over here, Ernest Scared Stupid. One of my favorite Ernest movies of the franchise right here. I know it's a Halloween movie. I can probably have this on a Halloween list too. But anything, you have to, if you grew up in if you were born in the 80s and like grew up in the 80s and 90s, and you don't have a Jim Varney Ernest movie in, you know, in one of your top lists, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you, man. But this one definitely would have to make my my Rad 9 list right here of movies that made me growing up. That one, and all the other Ernest movies as well, like Slam Dunk Ernest, Ernest Goes to Camp, Ernest Goes to Jail. You have to have Ernest in your life, man. Rest in peace, Jim Varney. Rest in peace. But another rad movie that I had on repeat, you know, in a young age, and I was happy that this Second Sight was it Second Sight that put this one out? I can't remember. Yeah, Second Sight Films. When I found out that they put out a Blu-ray of this, I'm like, oh, I gotta get up on this thing. This is definitely a movie that I had on repeat on VHS back in the day as well, and that is Flight of the Navigator. You know, it's about this young kid named David. He's like 12 years old or something like that, and it takes place in like the late 70s, and he's going out in the middle of the night. He falls down, hits his head, and when he wakes up, it's like almost a decade later, but yet he didn't age, but everybody else did around him, and he goes back home, and it's not his home anymore. And you know, it's him, and then he comes across this like spaceship and goes on this adventure with this like, you know, space creature that's like controlling the spaceship, that's voiced by, I believe, Paul Rubens, you know, Pee Wee Herman and stuff. Great movie from my childhood, man. If you guys have never seen Flight of the Navigator, this is a must for anybody, especially, you know, kids, man. Great fun movie, and I'm glad I got this cool box set one right here. Just absolutely a lot of fun, and looks amazing here. This movie always kind of blew me away. And another one that's kind of sort of in the same, you know, childhood, you know, family kind of, you know, friendly movie. Anybody that grew up in my decades, you know, it's called the 80s and 90s, you have to have at least you have to have a Fred Savage movie on your list. You know what I mean? And mine, I was going between this and The Wizard because I watched that one a lot too. Little Monsters. That one has to be on my list right here. Fred Savage, Howie Mandel, and of course we get Daniel Stern in here playing the father of Fred Savage here. Of course, Daniel Stern is the voice of course, the narrator of the Wonder Years, if you guys didn't know that. And it's about this family that's going through like turmoil, like the mother and father, I believe they're going through like a divorce, and the kids are just trying to deal with that. And one day, the little brother of Fred Savage gets kidnapped, but it's not like kidnapped by like a person. A monster takes him from under his bed, and Fred Savage finds out about this world of monsters that live underneath his bed, and he has to go down there and you know, deal with these different monsters to try to get his brother back, and befriends one of the monsters, Maurice. And it's a great movie, man. Some people don't like it, but I always have. It always gives me that nostalgia feeling, like all these movies that I'm showing you do. You know, they give me those nostalgia vibes that I always go back to and relive my childhood, man. And Little Monsters is definitely one of those movies for me. Next up over here is another one. I believe, was it Mel from My Killer Podcast had this one in her list too, and this one was on repeat for me as well. And that is a Christian Slater movie, Pump Up the Volume. This is a coming-of-age flick about this kid right here, played by Christian Slater, who has this like radio show, like back in the day when you can have your own. If you have your own little setup, you can like make your own little radio station and broadcast it out there. Kind of thing. I had a friend that had that, like his own little like renegade radio station. Back in the day, or had like his own little setup and stuff. Like you never know how many people are listening or who's listening, kind of thing. But you just kind of broadcast it out there and see who's hitting those waves. And this kid, played by Christian Slater, has this real popular, radio show that all the kids in his town listen to, and no one knows it's him that's doing it, and it's him kind of like going against the grain, and the police are trying to find him, but he's like a regular nerdy kid at school, but no one knows it's him that's everyone loves right now that's playing this radio. It's amazing. If you guys have never seen it before, highly recommend it. Look up the trailers to all these movies that I'm talking about right here. Great stuff that I'm showing you, especially ones that I personally love, and just have to talk about them for you guys here today. And another pair of movies that made me as a kid, that made me love martial art movies to begin with. These movies right here are my gateway into martial art movies, like Hong Kong style martial art movies. Because I was having a hard time. I was thinking about like maybe putting Three Ninjas, on this list. The Three Ninjas, or Three Ninjas Knuckle Up, High Noon at Mega Mountain, like all that stuff. Because those movies I always loved too. But if it wasn't for these movies I'm about to show you right here, I don't think those movies would have existed. And that is The Young Dragons, The Kung Fu Kids, here on VHS. And these are actual tapes I rented as a kid from the exact store that I went to. I rented these many a time, and the only reason I was able to get these ones is because the store was going out of business, and they finally let me buy them and things. And that's pretty much the first one. It's pretty much about these three kids that go visit their grandpa and stuff during the summer, and they learn martial arts and karate and pretty much discipline and things like that. And one day they have to go visit. They have to go to their grandma that lives in the city, and trying to you have to watch movies to find out. But it's just kind of funny and goofy, three ninja style. But we're about three brothers, and there's like multiple sequels. But the first two are pretty much the only ones you need to watch. If you guys ever get the chance to check them out. I love these movies. I always talk about them. But Three Ninjas, The Young Dragons, The Kung Fu Kids, 1 and 2 are kind of like one movie. But I love them. And I don't know how many of you guys out there that are watching this have ever seen those movies before, but I love them. They're fun and they're goofy, and you get some cool martial art action in there, And here we go to the next one, Empire Records. I can't have a top list of any kind of movie without having Empire Records on there. This one gives me nostalgic vibes as well, and it's pretty much about these kids that work at this record store called Empire Records, and they find out that the record store is being sold and turned into a music town, which is kind of like like a Walmart of CDs and sound movies and things like that. And they're like, what? They want to keep it like a true independent kind of store, and they're turning it into like a Walmart style kind of thing. And it's just them trying to figure out what to do. And the kid at the beginning of this movie that closed up shop took the money when he found out about what was going on, brought it to Reno, and put it all on, bet all of this money on the roulette table to try to, make the money back, to try to keep the store, independent. And he loses all this money, and it's just about the team trying to figure out what they're going to do to try to keep the store afloat. And it's fun, man. It's a real fun movie. Great cast of people in here. Liv Tyler, Steven Tyler's daughter. I got her autograph on my mini poster over there. Say no more, my name more. Great stuff in here. This movie also has a great soundtrack as well. The same thing with the movie Angus I showed you a little while ago. Great CD movie soundtrack, and a great movie from my childhood right here, teenage years. Love this one. Empire Records. That should be on more people's lists. And my last one right here. These are all in no particular order. You know what I mean? There's no way I can rank these in any particular order or anything. But the last one I have to show you guys right here is quite possibly one of my favorite Winona Ryder movies of all time. I love me some Beetlejuice and other stuff, but this one has to be on my list, and that is Reality Bites. Right here, this is I believe the directorial debut of Ben Stiller. One of the guys I always love watching in movies as well, and this was his very first movie, and I was very, very, very happy with this one right here. It's pretty much about these kids that graduate from college, and them going into the real world, and trying to figure out what they're going to do with themselves. You know what I mean? And Ethan Hawke is in here, and Winona Ryder's just like she was like the valedictorian of her class. I can't even say it right because I'm dumb, but it was just her trying to figure out what she wants to do, and she kind of like has this relationship with Ben Stiller. but her and Ethan Hawke have this little thing going on as well. It's just a cool coming of age movie, and if this wasn't on my list, it would have to be, because I watch this movie all the time. But guys, that's all I have to show and talk to you guys about today for my my top 9, my rad 9 movies that made me, or that just give me those cool, fun, nostalgia vibes that I go back to all the time, and and watch and just have a good time with, But guys, let me know down below in the comments, what are your top 9 or top 10 movies that made you as a kid or teenager growing up and stuff. Let me know in the comments down below. And if you guys want to get videos like this a few days early before everyone else does here on YouTube, please consider hitting that join button here on your screen, and you get some of my videos early before anybody else, exclusive posts and things like that, and you get to help support the channel just a little bit if you guys feel like it. You don't have to if you don't want to, but check out the join button if you guys want to help support me. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Hit that thumbs up and follow the Rad Pack Podcast YouTube channel. Link is in the description box. Thanks guys for watching. Catch you on the next one. Stay rad.